Yeah, well, it all started when I was in my teens, late teens, and my wife-to-be, her brother, was a lawyer, and he was dealing with Donna Rogoski and buying antiques and paintings. So he said, would you like to meet her? Because he's going there when she had a house in Brighton, a Robert Boyd house. And so I went there, and she sort of liked me, and I was in awe of everything that she had in there, because I'd never been in a museum or seen art really, and it sort of grabbed me, and that's how it started. I wanted to know more. Well, I opened one through Morialta. He offered me a space in Burke Street, and it was a pretty awful gallery. It was things I hated, but I basically I bought it from a chap I knew. So when I bought it, I went to this lady called Mrs. Dunlop. And Mrs. Dunlop was living in Henry Street, Fitzroy. And so I went into this little house, and she said, look, I'll be honest with you, Mr. Brown's been here and he wants to buy all of it. In the end, I left, and I saw something in an antique shop that Mrs. Dunlop owned, and I thought, that's unusual. I saw that there. And so I went back and knocked on the door, and a young lady opened the door, and I said, I'm after Mrs. Dunlop. And she said, I'm sorry, she's died. She said, who are you? I said, I'm Mr. Collie, Bryan Collie. She said, oh, come in. She's written a note that you should get the collection. That's how I started, and that was very important. I'd known a few sort of gay guys in Carlton that were collecting, and they came into the gallery, and one of them saw the Rupert bunnies that I bought in a framing shop that was in Carlton, and my card was on the bunnies. So he came in to see, hey, I can sell these for you through Chris Deutscher or Neville Healy. But I actually met Chris Deutscher because of that, and Neville Healy because of this guy that used to come in. And Neville Healy started to be my mentor. And that was it, and I opened the Melbourne Art Exchange. I mean, it started off with 3 Melbourne Art Exchanges. One was in Sydney, one was in Canberra, and one was in Melbourne. And the Melbourne one wasn't doing too well. It was run by a guy called Savage. I can't remember his first name, but he was a really cool guy. He was a musician, and he was there, and he said, look, I'm over this. And it wasn't going so well. And I said, oh, I wish I could buy it. And he said, well, actually it's on the market. I said, you're kidding, it's only been there a year. And he goes, yeah, you want to buy it? I said, well, I'll make an offer. So I did, and I bought it. But I ended changing it and started to promote artists and put works in that I'd bought, and it just went off. Yeah, the lease ran out, so I bought a place in Carlton. So I had a little exhibition there. The first one was pretty major, and that was the Norman Lindsay show in conjunction with Sirens. I mean, we've had women's shows, important paintings. We've had in Heidelberg schools, we sold Streetons, Roberts, John Peter Russells, you name it, Whiteley's, everything. It's been a whirlwind of, when people know you and I guess trust you, you get a lot of collections. And if you're not greedy, it works. So, and you're learning all the time because they teach you as well, the owners, because they've been collecting all their life. It led me into really being interested in every picture and getting right into it to say, is it right or is it wrong, but studying them. And it's almost addictive because you can't stop. The rubbery figures are still in people's minds, and everyone's going back like, hey, it's Saturday, and all of those really great shows, Graham Kennedy, that you wouldn't remember, but they were just iconic shows. And the rubbery figures was everyone, it was like the Muppets, you just had to watch them because it was so politically cutting and funny. And done in a studio with 3 people in Easy Street. It was crazy. I bought the first rubbery figure from Bill Luke, and he had a very good business in furniture and modern design. So when I saw them at Bill's Place, I wanted them because, you know, they were iconic. So I bought them, and you know, that's how I got them. So I've had them since about 1991 or 1990. I sort of miss them because they've got some energy that I sort of enjoy. It's quirky, and it's part of Australian history. So again, another art form, I believe. The William Dobell smock that I have in my collection has a very interesting work, one of many, of the dead landlord. Iconic. So in addition to the smock, I have 100 drawings still in the sketchbook of his trip when he was in London in 1935, which is one of the rare ones because that's one of the best periods of his life. One of my favourite drawings in this sketchbook is I think a drag queen in a pink dress, so it's the only coloured one in the book, which I believe is iconic. There's artists and artists, but Dobell was a true artist, and he lived in poverty. He just painted all the time. He had money, but he just had to have an artist's life. Just as like Ian Fairweather, incredible man. I mean, the only 22 in the Tate, lived in a hole. Crazy. What draws me to unsigned works? I really enjoy that, because when I see a painting, it doesn't matter if it's not signed, I want to know who it is. And that sharpens you up, because you've got to look at a lot of pictures when you're doing that all the time. So when I see a picture, especially if it's something that hits me straight away, I know it. With these very important Thomas Bocks, again, they were high, and I thought they could only be Thomas Bocks. I doubt that they were Thomas Wainwright's, because he was much more sophisticated in a way. And anyway, so I bought them. I didn't ask where they came from. I just thought I'll just do this on my own. But I found the first thing I knew that the frames were Australian straight away. They're tiger myrtle, and that's unique because it's only in Australia and Tasmania, and it's also in New Zealand. So, and you know by the framing method it's Australian, and also by the sitters, the way they sit and everything like that. So in the end, I took them to the Tasmanian Art Gallery, the lady that wrote the book on Wainwright, Mrs. Stewart, and they can't comment on anything, but she took me into the safe and we took my pictures in to match them with Wainwright's, which they just look, they don't match. So anyway, I've done a lot of research on them, and they are incredibly interesting paintings. They're the Dumas girls. There was 7 children, and they had 3 teenage girls, one the oldest and 2 of the younger ones. But Dumas was their father was a warrior. He was a British soldier. I think he was a captain, and he fought in many battles. He got wounded, and they retired him in Hobart with a pension. So they arrived there in the late 1820s, and the children in that small community married mainly soldiers because they had a pension, and they usually were quite wealthy, and they got grants for land. And one of the children married a Pitcairn and the other one married a Swanson. They Bock painted some of their children, so there's a link. And Wainwright did too, and they matched, Wainwright did 2 of the children, and they match the Dumas girls, and they are listed as Dumas girls. So it's all there, the frames, the matching of the faces, the history of the people. Very important. I found out on the Thomas Bocks that they came from a woman in Brighton who purchased them in Sydney from the chap that did the colonial book on furniture, and he owned them and he sold them to her. So obviously with the colonial furniture, sometimes unsigned pictures pop in and they don't know who they are. And so that was a really good provenance. when you get to if you're a collector, which there are not many left, and I think as an art dealer, I'm more a collector. I've sold some incredible paintings in my life. I've handled thousands of them, but when you own something that you really connect to, it's like losing. I know it sounds ridiculous, but it's like losing a friend, because they comfort you and there's something about them. And in my research, people think I'm a bit crazy, but it's like they guide you. Artists guide you. It's like there's it's another world. And the things that I've discovered and the things that have happened in my life without an education, left home when I was 14, is incredible. It's been kind to me. And that last thing I mentioned would be the pinnacle of it. You know, and if I die after that, I'll be happy, I won't care.